Chapter 7. Why did you create two sexes? Was this the only way you could figure for us to recreate? How should we deal with this incredible experience called sexuality? Not with shame, that's for sure, and not with guilt, and not with fear. For shame is not virtue, and guilt is not goodness, and fear is not honor. And not with lust, for lust is not passion. And not with abandon, for abandon is not freedom. And not with aggressiveness, for aggressiveness is not eagerness. And obviously not with ideas of control or power or domination, for these have nothing to do with love. But may sex be used for purposes of simple personal gratification? The surprising answer is yes, because personal gratification is just another word for self-love. Personal gratification has gotten a bad rap through the years, which is the main reason so much guilt is attached to sex. You are told you're not to use for personal gratification something which is intensely personally gratifying. This obvious contradiction is apparent to you, but you don't know where to go with the conclusion. So you decide that you feel guilty about how good you feel during and after sex. That will at least make it all right. It's not unlike the famous singer you all know, whom I will not name here, who receives millions of dollars for singing her songs. Asked to comment on her incredible success and the riches it has brought her, she said, "I feel almost guilty because I love doing this so much." The implication is clear. If it's something you love doing, you should not also be rewarded additionally with money. Most people earn money by doing something they hate, or something that is at least hard work, not endless joy. So the world's message is, if you feel negatively about it, then you can enjoy it. Guilt is often used by you in your attempt to feel bad about something you feel good about, and thus reconcile yourself with God, who you think does not want you to feel good about anything. You are especially not to feel good about joys of the body, and absolutely not about, as your grandmother used to whisper, sex. Well, the good news is it's alright to love sex. It's also alright to love yourself. In fact, it's mandatory. What does not serve you is to become addicted to sex or anything else, but it is okay to fall in love with it. Practice saying this 10 times each day. I love sex. Practice saying this 10 times. I love money. Now, you want a really tough one? Try saying this 10 times. I love me. Here are some other things you're not supposed to love. Practice loving them. Power, glory, fame, success, winning. Want some more? Try these. You should really feel guilty if you love this. The adulation of others, being better, having more, knowing how, knowing why. Had enough? Wait, here's the ultimate guilt. You should feel the ultimate guilt if you feel that you know God. Isn't this interesting? All through your life, you have been made to feel guilty about the things you want most. Yet I tell you this, love the things you desire, for your love of them draws them to you. These things are the stuff of life. When you love them, you love life. When you declare that you desire them, you announce that you choose all the good that life has to offer. So choose sex, all the sex you can get, and choose power, all the power you can muster, and choose fame, all the fame you can attain, and choose success, all the success you can achieve, and choose winning, all the winning you can experience. Yet you do not choose sex instead of love, but as a celebration of it, and do not choose power over, but power with, and do not choose fame as an end in itself, but as a means to a larger end, and do not choose success at the expense of others, but as a tool with which to assist others. And do not choose winning at any cost, but winning that costs other nothing, and even brings them gain as well. Go ahead and choose the adulation of others, but see all others as beings upon which you can shower adulation, and do it. Go ahead and choose being better, but not better than others, rather, better than you were before. Go ahead and choose having more, but only so that you have more to give. And yes, choose knowing how and knowing why, so that you can share all the knowledge with others. And by all means, choose to know God. In fact, choose this first, and all else will follow. All of your life, you have been taught that it is better to give than to receive. Yet, you cannot give what you do not have. This is why self-gratification is so important, and why it is so unfortunate that it has come to sound so ugly. Obviously, self-gratification at the expense of others is not what we're talking about here. This is not about ignoring the needs of others. Yet life should also not have to be about ignoring your own needs. Give yourself abundant pleasure, and you will have abundant pleasure to give others. The masters of tantric sex know this. That's why they encourage masturbation, which some of you call a sin. Masturbation? Oh boy, you have really stretched the limit here. How can you bring up something else like that? How can you even say it in a message that's supposed to be coming from God? I see, you have a judgment about masturbation. Well, I don't, but a lot of readers might. And I thought you said we were producing this book for others to read. We are. Then why are you deliberately offending them? I am not deliberately offending anyone. People are free to be offended or not, as they choose. Yet, do you really think it is going to be possible for us to candidly and openly talk about human sexuality without someone choosing to be offended? No, but there's such a thing as going too far. I don't think most people are ready to hear God talk about masturbation. If this book is to be limited to what most people are ready to hear God talk about, it's going to be a very small book. Most people are never ready to hear what God talks about when God is talking about it. They usually wait 2,000 years. All right, go ahead. We've all gotten over our initial shock. Good. I was merely using this life experience in which you've all engaged, by the way, but of which no one wants to speak, to illustrate a larger point. The larger point, restated. Give yourself abundant pleasure, and you will have abundant pleasure to give to others. Teachers of what you call tantric sex, which is a very high form of sexual expression, incidentally, know that if you come to sex with hunger for sex, Your ability to pleasure your partner and to experience a prolonged and joyful union of souls and bodies, which is a very high reason to experience sexuality, by the way, is greatly diminished. Tantric lovers, therefore, often self pleasure before they pleasure each other. This is frequently done in the presence of each other and usually with the encouragement and help and loving guidance of each other. Then, when initial hungers have been satisfied, the deeper the thirst of the two. The thirst for ecstasy through prolonged union can be gloriously satisfied. The mutual self-pleasuring is all part of the joyfulness, the playfulness, the lovingness of sexuality fully expressed. It is one of several parts. The experience you call coitus or intercourse might come at the end of a 2-hour encounter of love, or it might not. For most of you, it is very nearly the only point of a 20-minute exercise. That is 20 minutes if you're lucky. I had no idea this was going to turn into a sex manual. It's not, but it wouldn't be so bad if it did. Most people have a lot to learn about sexuality and its most wondrous, beneficial expression. I was nevertheless still seeking to illustrate the larger point. The more pleasure you give yourself, the more pleasure you can give to another. Likewise, if you give yourself the pleasure of power, you have more power to share with others. The same is true of fame, wealth, glory, success, or anything else which makes you feel good. And by the way, I think it's time we looked at why a certain thing does make you feel good. Okay, I give up. Why? Feeling good is the soul's way of shouting, "This is who I am." Have you ever been in a classroom where the teacher was taking attendance, calling the roll, and when your name was called, you had to say, "Here"? Yes. Well, feeling good is the soul's way of saying, "Here." Now, a lot of people are ridiculing this whole idea of doing what feels good. They say this is the road to hell. Yet I say it is the road to heaven. And of course, on what you say feels good. In other words, what kinds of experiences feel good to you. Yet I tell you this, no kind of evolution ever took place through denial. If you are to evolve, it will not be because you've been able to successfully deny yourself the things that you know feel good, but because you've granted yourself these pleasures and found something even greater. For how can you know that something is greater if you've never tasted the lesser? Religion would have you take its word for it. That is why all religions ultimately fail. Spirituality, on the other hand, will always succeed. Religion asks you to learn from the experience of others. Spirituality urges you to seek your own. Religion cannot stand spirituality. It cannot abide it. For spirituality may bring you to a different conclusion than a particular religion, and this no known religion can tolerate. Religion encourages you to explore the thoughts of others and accept them as your own. Spirituality invites you to toss away the thoughts of others and come up with your own. Feeling good is your way of telling yourself that your last thought was truth, that your last word was wisdom, that your last action was love. To notice how far you have progressed, to measure how highly you have evolved, simply look to see what makes you feel good. Yet don't seek to force your evolution to evolve further, faster, by denying what feels good or stepping away from it. Self-denial is self-destruction. Yet, also know this, self-regulation is not self-denial. Regulating one's behavior is an active choice to do or not to do something based on one's decision regarding who they are. If you declare that you are a person who respects the rights of others, a decision not to steal or rob from them, not to rape and plunder, is hardly self-denial. It is self-declaration. That is why it is said that the measure of how far one has evolved is what makes one feel good. If acting irresponsibly, if behaving in a way which you know might damage others or cause hardship or pain is what makes you feel good, then you have not evolved very far. Awareness is the key here, and it is the task of the elders in your families and communities to create and spread this awareness among the young. It is likewise the job of God's messengers to increase awareness among all peoples so that they may understand what it is done, or for one is done to, or for all, because we are all one. When you come from we are all one, it is virtually impossible to find that hurting another feels good. So-called irresponsible behavior vanishes. It is when these parameters that evolving beings seek to experience life. It is within these parameters that I say grant yourself permission to have all that life has to offer, and you will discover it has more to offer than you've ever imagined. You are what you experience. You experience what you express. You express what you have to express. You have what you grant yourself. I love this, but can we get back to the original question? Yes, I created two sexes for the same reason I put the yin and the yang in everything. In the whole universe, they are part of the yin and the yang, this male and this female. They are the highest living expression of it in your world. They are the yin and the yang in form, in one of many physical forms. The yin and the yang, the here and the there, the this and the that, the up and the down, the hot and the cold, the big and the small, the fast and the slow, the matter and the antimatter. All of it is necessary for you to experience life as you know it. How may we best express this thing called sexual energy? Lovingly, openly, playfully, joyfully, outrageously, passionately, sacredly, romantically, humorously, spontaneously, touchingly, creatively, unabashedly, sensually, and of course, frequently. There are those who say that the only legitimate purpose of human sexuality is procreation. Rubbish. Procreation is the happy after effect, not the logical forethought of most human sexual experience. The idea that sex is only to make babies is naive, and the contrarily thought that sex should therefore stop when the last child is conceived is worse than naive. It violates human nature, and that is the nature I gave you. Sexual expression is the inevitable result of an external process of attraction and rhythmic energy flow, which fuels all of life. I have built into all things an energy that transmits its signal throughout the universe. Every person, animal, plant, rock, tree, every physical thing sends out energy like a radio transmitter. You are sending off energy, emitting energy right now from the center of your being in all directions. This energy, which is you, moves outwards in wave patterns. The energy leaves you, moves through walls, over mountains, past the moon, and into forever. It never ever stops. Every thought you've ever had colors this energy. When you think of someone, if that person is sensitive enough, he or she can feel it. Every word you've ever spoken shapes it. Everything you've ever done affects it. The vibration, the rate of speed, the wavelength, the frequency of your emanations shift and change constantly with your thoughts, moods, feelings, words, and actions. You've heard that saying, sending off good vibes. And it is true. That's very accurate. Now, every other person is naturally doing the same thing. And so, the ether, the air between you, is filled with energy, a matrix of intertwining, interwoven personal vibes that form a tapestry more complex than you could ever imagine. This weave is the combined energy field within which you live. It is powerful and affects everything, including you. You then send out newly created vibes, impacted as you are by the incoming vibes to which you are being subjected. And these, in turn, add to and shift the matrix, which in turn affects the energy field of everybody else, which impacts the vibes they send off, which impacts the matrix, which impacts you, and so forth. Now you may think this is all just fanciful illusion. But have you ever walked into a room where the air was so thick you could cut it with a knife? Or have you ever heard of two scientists working on the same problem at the same time on opposite sides of the globe, each working on the problem without the other's knowledge, and each suddenly coming up with the same solution simultaneously and independently? These are common occurrences and some of the more obvious manifestations of the matrix. The matrix, the combined current energy field within any given parameter, is a powerful vibe. It can directly impact, affect, and create physical objects and events, whether two or more are gathered in my name. Your popular psychology has termed this energy matrix the collective consciousness. It can and does affect everything on your planet. The prospects of war and the chances for peace, geophysical upheaval, or a planet becalmed, widespread illness, or worldwide wellness. All is the result of consciousness. So, to the more specific events and conditions in your personal life. That's fascinating, but what does it have to do with sex? Patience, I'm getting to that. All the world is exchanging energy all the time. Your energy is pushing out, touching everything else. Everything and everyone else is touching you. But now, an interesting thing happens. At some point, midway between you and everything else, those energies meet. To make a more vivid description, let's imagine two people in a room. They are on the far sides of the room from each other. We'll call them Tom and Mary. Now, Tom's personal energy is transmitting signals about Tom in a 360-degree circle out in the universe. Some of that energy wave hits Mary. Mary, meanwhile, is emitting her own energy, some of which hits Tom. But these energies meet each other in a way you may not have thought of. They meet midway between Tom and Mary. Here, the energies unite. Remember now, these energies are physical phenomena. They can be measured, felt, and combined to form a new energy. Energy we'll call Tomeri. It is the energy of Tom and Mary combined. Tom and Mary could very well call this energy the body between us, for it is just that, a body of energy to which both are connected, which both are feeding the continuing energies which flow to it, and which is sending energies back to its sponsors along the thread or cord or pipeline that always exists within the matrix. Indeed, this pipeline is the matrix. It is this experience of Tomeri which is the truth of Tom and Mary. It is this experience of Tomeri which is the truth of Tom and Mary. It is to this holy communion that both are drawn, for they feel along the pipeline the sublime joy of the body between, of the joined one, of the blessed union. Tom and Mary, standing off at a distance, can feel, in a physical way, what is going on in the matrix. Both are urgently drawn towards this experience. They want to move toward each other at once. Now, their training sets in. The world has trained them to slow down, to mistrust the feeling, to guard against hurt, to hold back. But the soul wants to know, to marry now. If the two are lucky, they will be free enough to set aside their fears and trust that love is all there is. They are irrevocably drawn now, these two, to the body between them. Tomeri is already being experienced metaphysically, and Tom and Mary will want to experience it physically, so they'll move closer together. Not to get to each other, it looks that way to the casual observer, but they are trying to get to Tomeri. They are trying to reach that place of divine union which already exists between them. The place where they are already know they are one, and what it is like to be one. Americans became arrogant internationally as well. As millions starved across the globe, Americans threw away enough food each day to feed entire nations. America was generous with some, yes, but increasingly her foreign policy came to be an extension of her own vested interests. America helped others when it served America to do so. That is, when it served America's power structure, America's richest elite, or the military machine that protected those elite and their collective assets. America's founding ideal, brotherly love, had been eroded. Now, any talk of being your brother's keeper is met with a new brand of Americanism, a sharp mind toward what it takes to hold on to one's own, and a sharp word to any among the less fortunate who would dare ask for their fair share, for their grievances to be redressed. Each person must take responsibility for herself or himself. That is undeniably true. But America and your world can truly work only when every person is willing to stand responsible for all of you as a whole. So, collective consciousness produces collective results. Exactly. And this has been demonstrated time and time again throughout all of your recorded history. The matrix draws itself into itself, exactly as your scientists describe the so-called black hole phenomenon. It pulls like energy to like energy, even drawing physical objects toward each other. Those objects must then repel each other, move away, or they will merge forever, in effect, disappearing in their present form and taking on a new form. All beings of consciousness intuitively know this, so all beings of consciousness move away from the permanent melding in order to maintain their relationship to all other beings. If they did not, they would meld into all other beings and experience the oneness forever. This is the state from which we have come. Having moved away from this state, we are constantly re-attracted to it. This web and flow, to and fro movement is the basic rhythm of the universe and everything in it. This is sex, the synergistic energy exchange. You are constantly being attracted, compelled toward union with one another and with all that is in the matrix. Then, the movement of unity being repelled by conscious choice away from that unity. Your choice is to remain free of it so that you can experience it. For once you become part of that unity and remain there, you cannot know it as unity since you no longer know separation. Put another way, for God to know itself as the all of it, God must know itself as not the all of it. In you and in every other energy unit of the universe, God knows itself as the parts of all, and does give itself the possibility of knowing itself as the all in its own experience. I can only experience what I am by experiencing what I am not. Yet I am what I am. I am what I am not. And so you see the divine dichotomy, hence the statement, I am that I am. Now, as I said, this natural ebb and flow, this natural rhythm of the universe, typifies all of life, including the very movements that create life in your reality. Toward each other you are compelled, as if by some urgent force, only to pull away and separate, only to urgently push toward each other again, once more to separate, and again to hungrily, passionately, urgently seek total union. Together apart, together apart, together apart. Your bodies dance in a movement so basic, so instinctual, that you have very little conscious awareness of deliberate action. At some point you shift into automatic. No one needs to tell you or your bodies what to do. They simply do it with the urgency of all of life. This is life itself, expressing itself as life itself. And this is life itself producing new life in the bosom of its own experience. All of life works on such a rhythm. All of the life is the rhythm. And so, all of life is imbued with the gentle rhythm of God and what you call the cycles of life. Food grows in such cycles. Seasons come and go. Planets spin and circle. Suns explode and implode, and explode again. Universes breathe in and breathe out. All of it happens. All of it in cycles, in rhythms, in vibrations matching the frequencies of God, Goddess, the All. For God is the All, and the Goddess is everything, and there is nothing else that is, and all that ever was is now, and ever shall be, is your world without end. Amen.